Hey, I'm Nerdchomp, and I'm making a game called Imago. It's a roguelike 3D platformer where you absorb bug abilities, cocoon bugs to upgrade them, and adapt your strategy when your bugs inevitably die. It is day 6 of Imago Week. If you don't know what Imago Week is, I made a video explaining it on Sunday, so you can watch that first. In this video, I will be talking about the UI in Imago. Keep in mind, the UI in this game is still very much a work in progress. For all of the UI I'm showing in this video, I'm mainly focused on functionality, without much thought put into how it looks. This UI is nowhere close to where it will hopefully be in the final game, but I wanted to talk about it anyways because UI is something that I really struggle with, and I'm putting in a lot of effort to learn how to implement UI both functionally and aesthetically at a more professional level. In all of my projects so far, the UI has always been hacky and obviously placeholder. The current UI in Imago is no exception to that, but I have been learning, and I like to think I'm better than I was a year ago. In the past for UI, I've tried a third-party plugin called Menu System Pro, and while that plugin works and makes it pretty easy to just plug and play, it has its limitations. It is essentially a template with a few style options, but its customization is limited. And if you want to make more substantial changes to the plugin, the blueprint logic supporting the system is pretty complex and difficult to follow. And without customizations, the menus fall into similar layouts seen in lots of other games. The template aspect is very forward and obvious. So instead of relying on this third-party plugin, I wanted to improve my skills with widgets and learn the workflow in Unreal myself. I did end up using another plugin called Common UI, which is built into the engine. So why is this plugin okay and not the other one? Well, Common UI is not a template. There are no pre-made layouts. It simply provides a set of additional widget tools that I can use to build my own custom layouts. I still build the layout from a blank slate, and I have much more flexibility than I do with Menu System Pro. One of the biggest features of Common UI is that it makes controller support much easier, handling the technical side of device detection. It has tools to detect what input device is being used and adjust input icons accordingly. With the Common UI plugin, I made basic versions of the main menu and the pause menu. One of the neat tools in Common UI is the stack widget. When you add a widget to the stack, it automatically handles removing the current widget and transitioning to the new one. For example, I have this pause menu stack, and I can add the options widget to the stack, which automatically removes the pause menu and switches to the options menu. Then when I remove the options widget from the stack, it switches back to what's below it, which in this case is the pause menu. This makes switching between menus a lot simpler, because I don't need to worry about manually removing widgets or keeping track of the order of the widgets. The stack handles that for me. There are a few pieces of information I need to display on the player's HUD: health, equipped bugs, and the bugs in your backpack. I also need to display a clock for the time reward component of each level, which I haven't implemented yet, but I have implemented the other things. The health bar was pretty straightforward. The equipped bugs in the inventory were a little more tricky. I tried a few layouts, stacking different bug categories, but I ultimately decided it worked best with active, passive, and cocoon bugs all horizontal at the bottom. That was the least obtrusive, least distracting layout. The backpack bugs are a little different. The capacity of your backpack can grow, so I stack the slots on top of each other if your inventory grows too large. And then I have a little backpack capacity counter in the corner, showing you the max number of bugs. This max number includes a total of your active, passive, cocooned, and backpack bugs together. For things like this overview screen or object interactions, these button prompts pop up. Like I said, the Common UI plugin handles the detection of different input types, but I do still need to define those devices and which icons I want to display. So I have this table that defines input keys and pairs them with icons. For the prompt itself, I use a special widget type from the plugin called Common Input Action Widget, and then within that widget, I assign an enhanced input action. Each enhanced input action is assigned a key. This setup can adjust automatically to accommodate for any keys that are remapped. So if the player remaps the key for interacting with things, the button prompt icon will also change. And if the player decides to change from mouse and keyboard to a PS5 controller, the icons will also automatically change. I also have this bug management screen. This is where you equip, cocoon, and discard bugs. There were a few iterations of what this screen looked like, but this is what I have now. Once I have 3D models of bugs, those models will show up on the table when you hover over them. These are just placeholder. Because I'm trying to support gamepad, I had to manage widget focus. Focus is how the game knows which widget you're selecting or highlighting if you're not using a mouse. When you hover over a button with your mouse, it doesn't automatically change the focus to that button, which doesn't really matter for mouse controls, but it's important for gamepad support. I added some custom logic to manually change the focus when you hover over a button with your mouse. This means if you decide to change to a gamepad mid-game, it will still remember where you are in the menu. The engine has some internal logic to handle gamepad focus when you're navigating through buttons. For example, if I press up right now, the engine will detect that there's a button right above it and change focus automatically, but there are certain situations where it doesn't work. In this situation, there's nothing directly above the button, so when I push up, nothing happens. But I would want the focus to transfer over to this button. So in this specific situation, I have logic to get the position of all of the buttons and then calculate which one is horizontally the closest. It ignores any button that has vertical coordinates that are the same or below the current button, and that results in the focus being switched over correctly. So that's pretty much all I have for the UI so far. Like I said, this is still very much a work in progress. There are also still a few things I need to make, like the clock HUD and a shop menu where you can spend spirits to upgrade your character. And then once all the functionality is in, I plan on doing a pass where I focus solely on the visuals of the UI. Epic provides a thing in their store called the UI Material Lab, which has a bunch of examples to study for custom UI shapes, animations, and effects using shaders. So eventually I'll go through that and figure out how to make all of this look good. Tomorrow is the 7th and final day of Imago week, and I will finish off the week with a video about my plans for the future, for both Imago's development and Imago devlogs. So tune in tomorrow to learn more about that. The Steam page for Imago is up and active, so you can head over there and wishlist the game. That really helps me out a lot. Link in the description. Thanks.